What's up, everybody? Welcome to Hapticast, episode number 37. My name is Josh Toll. I'm joined by my good friend Brett Roberts and our AI companion HBot. As always, hello Brett.
What's up, Josh?
And hello HBot.
Hello, everyone.
Okay. So we took off last week. Well, not really, but off. We didn't have an episode of the pod last week because we were doing some Resident Evil streams. So be sure you check those out if you haven't yet. They are pretty cool. They're a lot of fun. We appreciate everybody tuning in and watching them. With that, let me get into kind of the topics we'll be talking about. And part of the Resident Evil stuff is we have a very special first topic for all of you today that we're going to go over. So, that's exciting. Stay tuned for that. Then we're going to be talking about Bloodborne, a game that has been out for, just had its 6th anniversary, right? So for 6 years. So we're talking about where the fuck the next gen patch is with that. And then a kind of non-gaming related thing. I mean, I guess it could partially be they just released a video game, but SpongeBob SquarePants episodes have been pulled from Paramount Plus over storyline concerns. Wow. And then for Indie Intel this week, we're going to be talking about a game that's been out for a little while, but that I just beat and that we want to really talk about and make sure you all know about if you haven't and can get it. And that's Devotion by Red Candle Games. With that being said, Brett, we talked a little bit about the Resident Evil live stream. Do you have anything else to say about that?
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's your first time playing it. I know you're having a lot of fun with the game itself, and you're jonesing to jump back into it. So yeah, thank you for everyone for coming out and watching. We've had a lot of awesome people in our chat. If you want to be part of that, make sure you're subscribed so you get the notification when we are going to be live next. At the time we're recording this, I think we're going to be going live sometime this week. And then, by the time you're watching this, probably a day later or 2 days later, we're going to be doing another one. So like I said, subscribe. And, make sure you're there and click set reminder when you see that live stream reminder. That way you get the notification, when we're going live. So,
yeah,
that's it.
All right. Before we hop into our main topics, let's talk about what we've been playing. You want to go first or you want me to go first?
I'll go first. Yeah, so this week I haven't really... Well, it's actually been 2 weeks since we've last done one of these, so I have a couple of things that we could talk about. I haven't really played a lot of games. We've been playing Apex, you and I and Christian from Save Before Quitting Pod. And, trying to get our rank score up in that. They just did the rank split, so got to try to get that in.
Right.
First thing I want to mention is the Snyder Cut, Justice League Snyder Cut. I know it's been a while. So the Snyder Cut has come out. We've seen it. I watched it and I liked it. I'll let Josh talk about it for his section if he wants. I liked it a lot more than I liked the original Justice League film. I think that there was a lot of things that Joss Whedon cut out of it that, made no sense. He tried to transform it into something else. And it's funny because it still had all the bones and DNA of Snyder's vision. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I enjoyed it a lot more than the original. Another thing that I watched, Josh, just came out at the time.
It's okay.
At the time of recording,
it's going to keep happening. You might as well just keep going.
Can you stop her from barking, please? Please, I know she's excited, but please. You can talk, just don't make her bark, please.
Please, kill me.
So as of the time that we are recording this, Invincible, the animated series, just dropped. And I heard crazy things about it. They were showing these trailers for it where these characters were apparently doing something insane on the screen, and they were only showing the reaction from the influencers that were watching the clip, and they were just like, holy fuck. And these were people that have already read the comics, so they knew what it was going to be, but it was in animated form.
Gotcha.
Josh, you have seen it. Episode 1 at least.
I have.
I've finished episodes 1, 2, and 3, all of the ones that are available on Amazon right now.
Mm-hmm. So I actually last night finished.
Oh, nice. So we've all seen it. Both of us have seen it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What do you think?
I love it.
It's pretty good, right?
It's pretty fucking good. It's really good.
Yeah. Robert Kirkman, man.
It's very cool.
He's a pretty good writer. The Walking Dead we were huge fans of when it first started, when it was closer to Kirkman's vision, I would assume. And over the years, it kind of transformed and we kind of fell out of interest with it. I think that this is going to stick more closely to the source material than The Walking Dead did, obviously.
Let's hope.
It's an animated adaptation of a comic, so it would make sense to be that way. I'm in. I'm so sold. Seth Rogen's a producer. He's been doing a lot of graphic novel producing spots when they're doing that transition from, the comics to TV. He did Preacher. So he's actually in Invincible as an alien. I don't know if you caught that. When they're on the moon, that's actually Seth Rogen. Yeah, I just love it. I think it turned out so great. And there's certain times where I'm like, the animation is a little weak, but it's the first season. They were trying it out, So, so yeah, I mean, I could talk about it forever, but I'm really into it. And I'm really excited to get into it more when they drop more episodes. And then another thing that I just watched, Josh, Eric Andre's new movie, Bad Trip.
You watched that?
Dude, it was really good. It was really, really good. So it's Eric Andre, Tiffany Haddish, and I forget his name. I'm really sorry, I forget his name. He's the dude he's the best friend from Get Out, I believe, who is a security guard at the airport.
Yeah.
A TSA agent or whatever. And it's literally the exact same formula as Bad Grandpa, where it's real pranks on real people with a storyline tied into it. And it's actually done by Jeff Tremaine, the guy who did Jackass and Bad Grandpa. So it's like, it's very similar. And it's pretty much like if you like the Eric Andre show, you're going to like this movie because it's the Eric Andre show skits where he's fucking with people on the street with a storyline weaved in between. And the storyline isn't crazy. It's literally just he falls in love with this girl from his high school and he runs into her and she says that she's only in LA or in Florida for a couple days, and she has an art studio in New York. And Eric Andre's character wants to go to New York to confess his love for her. So the whole movie is just them going from Florida to New York while one of the characters' sister breaks out of jail and chases them down. And that's Tiffany Haddish. It was really funny. The pranks are really good. It's got that Eric Andre show style comedy. So like I said, if you're a fan of that, you'll really like this. And if you're a fan of like Jeff Tremaine and Jackass and Bad Grandpa, then you'll probably like this as well.
Yeah. Okay. So interesting. Honestly, the biggest turnoff for me was Tiffany Haddish. She's one of those like, I don't know. She's one of those like comedians that have the same shtick and it's like, you're the same thing and everything. And I really find you.
It's the
annoying.
Amy Schumer type of thing,
Exactly.
I agree. She was like the main thing that was turning me off of the movie, but I'm a huge Eric Andre fan, so I was like, I'll give it a shot. Yeah. Honestly, she's pretty good in this movie. She plays the role very well. My favorite part, I think, of the whole movie is actually the very end after the credits roll. They do bloopers and the reveal to all the people that were pranked. And she's like pretty cool in that. Like as a human being, you get to see her like interacting with the people she just pranked. She's pretty cool. So check it out. I liked it a lot.
Nice. All right. Anything else?
Nope. That's it.
Okay. Well, yeah, I also watched the Snyder Cut. I did not like it.
Did you like it more than the original?
Yes, I liked it more than the original, but it's like splitting hairs. First of all, no movie needs to be 4 hours long. It's not necessary. I get that it works because it's more like a mini series, but that's not what it was marketed as. It's marketed as a movie, and no movie needs to be that long. There's no way you're watching it in one sitting, so why not just make it a mini series? All the acting was just as terrible as the original Justice League. I find Ben Affleck insufferable as Batman. I find Gal Gadot atrocious as a fucking actress. I think she's a joke. I found Ezra Miller as the Flash edgy and made me want to fucking die. Cyborg was honestly probably my favorite, and even his acting sucked. It's just I can't get over. I think they're all terrible. I really do. And Henry Cavill is probably the best one, and I also think that he's terrible. So
role or as an actor?
I don't like as an actor. I just don't like any of them as actors. I think they're all really bad. And I know that's probably not. And it's not Ezra Miller. I actually like in other stuff, but I just didn't like it. It's another CGI fucking shill fest that I can't stand. I do think Steppenwolf was way better in this, and also looked way better.
Yeah.
Like his armor looked fucking slick. And I think the best part about this movie is what the ending sets up, and we're never gonna get any resolution to it. So why do I even care?
Yeah.
Why do I even care? I also think Zack Snyder's a terrible director.
Okay.
So that's it.
I think that it's
I
funny
know.
you mentioned like Steppenwolf being better in this because he is, but it's funny how they made him better because they made him better by making
by being a
they
simp.
made him a simp. He's basically a little bitch. And it suited his character so much better because he was just trying to make Daddy Darkseid happy with him the whole time. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. And also Jared Leto was still the worst.
Oh
Joker.
yeah.
He's just bad. He's just terrible. So I'm sorry to be so down on it. I did like it better than the original, but like I said, for me it's splitting hairs. Because I didn't mind the original. I was disposable, whatever. I feel like this wasn't even. I couldn't even call it disposable because I felt like I had to force myself to sit through it. So I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. So sorry for everybody that's gonna probably hate me for that, but it's just not for me, and that's it. Invincible also is the opposite of Justice League. It's fucking slick as fuck. I love it. The end of the first episode, I mean, I was in it honestly before the ending and all the crazy shit happens. Like I was really enjoying it. And then the end happens and I'm like, I was in. I was so in because you think you're watching one thing and then it just subverts your expectations. Like, no, this is what the story is actually about. So that's cool. And they do a good job too in the episode like 2 and 3, setting up like the love interests and doing it in a way that's like not overly like
Stereotypical.
annoying. Yeah, it's just it's cool. And the voice cast is great.
The voice cast is incredible. J.K. Simmons,
It's
Stephen Yuen.
yeah, it's top notch. Watched Fargo season 4.
Nice.
Which got shit on by people as the weakest season. I disagree. I think it's one of the best seasons. All seasons of Fargo are good. It's really good. And people shit on it because they said it was woke. It takes place like at the height of racism in like the 50s and 60s and like the Kansas City mob and like the massacre in Kansas City on like Black Wall Street and all that stuff. So, I mean, what you want it to not be about race? Because that's literally what was happening. That's why it was a powder keg between all the different like mobs at that time. It's awesome. Let's see. I played Prey a little bit on Xbox because it has FPS boost now. Very good, by the way. I was interested in that game when it was announced. Played the demo. Was like, wow, this is not for me at all. I don't want to play this. And then I started playing it. I'm like, wow, this is great. This is like BioShock. I think whoever picked that slice of the demo should not have a job anymore because it is literally the worst representation of that game.
What was the demo?
The demo. Did you play the demo?
No, I only
at all
played the beginning of the game.
It's partially the beginning of the game, that loop in the apartment building, right? Where you go through and then you find out like you're in a simulation or whatever. But it shows no actual gameplay or like story elements hardly at all. And I'm like, and specifically the gameplay loop, because like if you don't like games like BioShock, that type of gameplay, you are not going to like this game. Like that is pretty much exactly what the gameplay loop of this is very similar to BioShock. And I feel like the demo didn't show that at all.
I do want to say though, like you're right. If that's the case, you are right because it doesn't really get into the meat and potatoes of the actual game. But I think that intro is one of the coolest moments in gaming, in my opinion, that I've ever played, where you break the wall and you go through it.
It's
such a cool
It's very
moment.
cool. It's very cool, but it didn't sell me on the gameplay element, which the game is all gameplay.
Yeah.
Right? It's a fucking game. But specifically, like that's this type of game. Like it knows exactly what it is, and like BioShock, like it's gonna be cumbersome for some people. A lot of people will not like that style. And that's fine. But I personally love it. So I was just surprised. I was like, at how much I liked it versus how off I was put by the demo back in the day, which is why I never bought it or played it. I got Monster Hunter on Switch. I haven't started it yet. Watching Skate, Infinity, Dr. Stone. And then last night I beat Devotion in one sitting.
Wow, how long was that?
Red Candle Games. About 3
Not
hours. Little under 3 hours. But I won't talk about that now because we'll talk about it in Indie Intel. So,
cool.
All right. But that being said, let's hop into our main topics for the day, Brett. You want to kick this first one off?
So, for our first topic, guys, we wanted to, instead of talking about the news or talking about, games, we wanted to talk about our channel. We wanted to talk about a recent accomplishment that we just hit, and that is 500 subscribers. The other day at the beginning of our Resident Evil 4 live stream, we said, hey guys, we're rapidly approaching 400 subscribers. We were at, I think, 380 or 390. And we were basically saying, if you could get us to 400, we'll do another stream series. We'll do Resident Evil 7. It would mean a lot to us. Well, our first live stream replay now has over 2,000 views. We are now at a little over 520 or at 520 subscribers. It's absolutely insane. That's the most we have grown in this amount of time since we started our channel back in 2013?
Yeah.
So we've been at this for a couple years now. We stopped for a little bit. We got back into it. We stopped. We got back into it. I think we've been on a pretty good roll since we came back, and we plan to keep going now that we have this virtual setup. Breaking kayfabe. It's much easier to record, and I think the way we're making content works, and Josh is doing a great job editing, and it really means a lot to have over 500 subscribers. It's a huge milestone. I put this on my Twitter. I just want to say it here. I wanted to be a YouTuber ever since the platform first was introduced. Back in 2006, 2007, YouTube exploded, and I jumped on. I have several accounts that I've made back from 2007, and my main channel that I still use to this day is my original channel, and it's sitting a little over 400 subs. So that's over 13 years, that channel. So I've officially finally surpassed that now with this channel with 500 subs. And it's just, it means a lot to me personally. And I know it means a lot to you too, Josh. So thank you. Thank you for watching. And, if you guys want to see something new, if you like something, if you don't like something, the best way to let us know is to hop into the comments, to dislike even, just let us know what you think of our content. And, we're willing to adapt. We saw you guys like the Resident Evil content we were putting out, so we decided to do a live stream, and it took off. So there's proof in the pudding right there. We're listening and we're willing to adapt. And just want to thank you guys so much. So what do you think, Josh?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. We've been at this for a very long time, on and off a little bit. We've had bumps here and there, right, in subscribers or views or things like that. We've had several videos do extremely well, but that doesn't always translate to subscribers and stuff like that. Which, I mean, at the end of the day, whatever, we're doing what we enjoy. That's not secondary because we want to do well, but almost secondary because we're having a good time doing it and learning a lot. Like, I know me personally, even since we came back, we had this idea, right, to change our format and just change the way we do things, and it made me have to adapt as an editor, right, and how I go about things and how we go about producing our content. And I really don't think there's many other small channels like us doing the types of shows and production that we do, right, because it's difficult, right? It's a lot. I mean, listen, what you all see behind us, listen, we got an AI doing this now, so come on now. It's no other people are really doing this. But yeah, it means a lot, and we want people to engage with all of our content. So if you're here for one reason or another, we understand that. People like certain content, they gravitate towards certain things. We get it. But check out some of our other stuff, and like Brett said, let us know what you like. And we really do appreciate it. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep trying different things. Make sure you connect with us and share it with other people, and let's keep going. Let's get to 1,000 and then beyond that. So
that's right. If you're not already, follow us on all of our social media, specifically Twitter. I mentioned this on our live stream as well. If you want to stay up to date with what we're doing, if you want to know what kind of content we're going to be doing when we're going live, what we're talking about, Twitter is the best place to be. It should be in the description of this video.
Yeah.
So just go check those out. It's the best place to connect with us.
Yeah. All right. Anything else, Brett? Or
nah, just thank you guys so much, and it means a lot.
Yeah. We're going to be talking about Bloodborne right now, Brett. And specifically, where the fuck is our next gen patch for the game? Where is it, Brett? We've gotten God of War, right? We've gotten Ghost of Tsushima. We've gotten Days Gone, right? Where's Bloodborne, Brett? Where is it?
I don't know, Josh. Bloodborne is a game that is beloved by many. It actually made our top 10 favorite games of all time list.
That's right.
So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Where is it? I want it. Give me my money right now. So
Give you your money?
My money.
Take your money.
Well, listen. Well, yeah. Take.
You want to get paid?
Take my money.
Yeah.
I would buy a brand new one if I had to.
Well, I think that before you get into this, I do want
Yeah.
to say I think the reason we haven't gotten it yet, Josh, is because they might be working on a PC port, which has been rumored for many, many years. And I think that they are going to put out a remastered version of the game. And that is, this has been speculated. It's been rumored. I don't see any other reason as to why you would just abandon a huge game like this and potentially get even more sales on the PlayStation 5. Unless you're going to be putting out a remaster, which would create the need for a patch unnecessary.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. And I was going to touch on that towards the end, but I'll bring it up now instead. Digital Foundry did a great video about what we're going to talk about, which is the 60 FPS mod, obviously. But in that video, they talk about some of the limitations and why they think that we haven't gotten a patch yet. And mainly being, first of all, it can't be a simple, like it's a code level thing that they had to implement, right? That they have to implement. Okay. So it's not just like the engine that it's running on or whatever it is wouldn't simply work by just doing like a uncapped frame rate patch, right? Because even if you did that, it would be unstable. So you have to do a code level fix, basically, right? Which means transferring the code completely to basically port it to the next gen systems.
At that point, why wouldn't you just release it as its own game?
Yeah, and it's a limitation of the engine that it's running in, obviously, and that is probably why we haven't seen it yet, right? They probably are working on some kind of either port or remaster, whatever it is. Hopefully Blue Point's working on it. And they basically were like, the Digital Foundry guys think that there is so much market like potential for it, for them to make money off of it, that there's no way that they're not going to do it at some point. And I agree with that. I would buy it again at $60. I'd buy it again at $70. I don't fucking care. Give it to me. So yeah, I wanted to touch on that.
Yeah, I don't know if they did release it. There is some content that was cut. I don't know if they could, incentivize people by restoring the cut content.
Right.
Even if it's just the Chalice Dungeon stuff, because people have created modded Chalice Dungeons where you fight bosses that were cut from the game.
Yeah.
Even if it was just like adding those to the actual base game, would be pretty cool. They do have the DLC they could bundle in there with it, the Old Hunters DLC. $70. I mean, it's a hard sell for some maybe, but I would buy it like you.
Yeah, especially if all the DLCs in there and 60 FPS, 4K. Come on, give it to me.
Yeah, easily.
So with that being said, a few years ago, 2019, maybe it was 2020, I forget. But this modder named Lance McDonald took the internet by storm, specifically Reddit, when he said that he was able to uncap Bloodborne's frame rate and get it to run at 60 FPS. Now it's still at 1080p, but he got it to run at 60 FPS. People freaked out about it, right?
Yeah.
And for those of you that don't know, obviously Bloodborne currently is capped at 30 FPS, and it dips a lot, specifically on old hardware. So basically McDonald took it into his own hands, right, to create this patch. Okay. So he said about a month ago, or that year when he announced it, that if Sony didn't do something with it, right, like he was going to give Sony time to do something, right, because he showed it was possible, to at least get the frame rate up, that if they didn't do it, then he would release the patch, right, to download, essentially. So last week he debuted a video of his 60 FPS Bloodborne patch, right, or in October he debuted the video of a 60 FPS Bloodborne patch, and then last week he released it for people to download. Okay, which is great, right? There's some other games on PlayStation and Xbox currently that you can get mods for, right? But unfortunately, Brett, for this mod to be able to get it and get it to work, you have to also mod your PlayStation to do that.
And it's PS4 only, right?
PS4 only, right? And it basically only works with dev kits, right? So you have to mod your PlayStation 4 to get the patch to run with the game on it.
Okay. So you're basically turning your PlayStation 4 into a dev kit model.
Yeah, basically. So that's a shame that there wasn't some other way to do it. I mean, obviously, I get it. The PlayStation and Xbox on consoles, it's not like PC, right, where you can go in and mod the individual game files or whatever it is. So it's unfortunate because as of today, when we were recording this, you can still only play the game at 30 FPS, even on new gen hardware. And it still is just not a great experience anymore compared.
Yeah, I mean, compared to like Demon Souls remastered on the PlayStation 5, right?
Right. Yeah. And playing Souls games at 60 FPS and above, it just makes the responsiveness and the quickness, and it just makes it so much easier and more enjoyable to play. Because the games are difficult enough as they are, without adding such low refresh and frame rates on them and unresponsiveness. So
yeah, and that all aside, the FPS aside, Bloodborne is one of the most visually pleasing worlds ever crafted.
Right.
And if they could get it running in 4K somehow on the PS5, let's fucking go.
Yeah. I don't there's no way that they can't do it. Like, the hardware is perfectly capable of it. Yeah. And I think even listen, I'm no tech expert, but I think even at a code level, you wouldn't be able to get the game to run in native 4K, right? So it wouldn't be true 4K, but you could do what God of War did, right? Make it checkerboarded and upscaled. It's not quite as crisp, but it still works and has less impact on the actual frame rate. It's possible. It's just a matter of whether Sony is willing to put the money in to do that and give us a higher resolution and higher frame rates. I guess time will tell. Hopefully we'll get some sort of version either in a patch or through an actual official remaster release.
We're going to do something a little different today.
Okay.
We're going to be talking about something that isn't game related necessarily. It's a series that has had many video games over the years, but it is primarily a television show. And it is a television show that you and I grew up with. Our generation knows very near and dear. Mm-hmm. SpongeBob SquarePants, guys.
Oh, boy. So
we're going to be taking our information from an IGN article. I'm just going to read through it a little bit, and then we can talk about it, Josh.
Okay.
I think it's a little ridiculous considering SpongeBob SquarePants as a show. Let me get into it, and I'll talk in a minute.
Okay.
So SpongeBob SquarePants episodes have been pulled over storyline concerns. So you hear that, and you're like, what the fuck? So the SpongeBob SquarePants episode Midlife Crustacean is out of rotation and is not available to stream on Paramount Plus or purchase digitally on services like Amazon. Another episode, titled Quarantined Crab, with a K, mind you, also appears to have been shelved due to plotline similarities to the COVID-19 pandemic. So Josh, the episode Midlife Crustacean for sure. It first aired on Nickelodeon in 2003. It was a part of season 3 of SpongeBob SquarePants, and it featured Mr. Krabs in a midlife crisis. SpongeBob and Patrick help out Mr. Krabs and show him a good time. This is the infamous Panty Raid episode.
Yes.
So a representative from Nickelodeon reached out and said, Midlife Crustacean has been out of rotation since 2018, actually, following a standards review in which they determined some story elements were not kid appropriate. And usually cartoons, they had a 15-minute episode and a 15-minute episode combined into one.
Right.
We're going to call that I think it's called a partner or companion episode. That one was The Great Snail Race, and that is still available on all marketplaces.
That's a good one.
And all that.
Yeah,
so, yeah, it's a great episode. So is Midlife Crustacean.
It is.
So let's talk about Midlife Crustacean. Josh, you remember the Panty Raid.
Do I remember the Panty Raid?
I guess you're gonna miss the Panty Raid. The what?
That's my first experience with Panty Raids, was that episode, dude.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. Maybe the episode should be banned then, because it did introduce kids to...
Dude, there's no kid that...
Panty
There's
Raids.
no fucking kid on the face of this earth that's gonna understand what that episode's actually like referencing, right? And even the way they present it is it's so watered down and like non-offensive in any way, at least personally, that I find it. I mean, I guess it's been a minute since I watched it, but
well, if you remember, the punchline of the episode is that the house they're raiding is actually Mr. Krabs' mom's house.
Right.
So it's her underwear that they're going through.
It's just
and she actually sends Mr. Krabs to time out in his childhood bedroom.
Right, yeah.
I can think of so many other SpongeBob episodes that have moments that are more questionable than this. There's the infamous curse word episode where they're saying curse words and they use the little sound effect. Yeah, insert that if you can in the editing, Josh. Make a note of this. So SpongeBob will say, "How the f*** are you?" And instead of "fuck," it'll have the seahorse noise or the horse noise. I don't remember what it was.
Yeah.
So there's an example. The whole episode's about cursing and like censorship. It's just making a joke of it. I'm not saying that episode should be banned. I'm just presenting more episodes. How about the episode where SpongeBob is watching porn? Gary walks in and he's like, "Gary!"
Yeah.
And it was the little sea anemones or whatever dancing.
Yeah. Dude, it's just there's so listen, this is not exclusive to SpongeBob, right? There are so many cartoons, right, that have adult content in them because usually adults are watching them with their kids, right? And you want to get both of those demographics in one. So like it's just listen, man. This is just not a big deal at all. This is completely overblown censorship, fucking pandering bullshit that we've seen time and time again. And I compare it to the Disney stuff, right? Where they had extremely racially sensitive cartoons, right? But instead of removing them, right, which would have been the easy thing, they put up warnings in front of them, right?
Josh, I'm glad you brought that up because that is my next point.
Okay.
IGN actually reached out and asked which scenes caused the controversy. And they also asked if Nickelodeon would ever consider putting a content warning in front of the episode, and the representative for Nickelodeon said no comment.
No comment. I haven't got a comment for you. Go f yourself. What?
So yeah, it's a great point. The Disney stuff, they just put a warning in front of the episode saying, "Hey, this episode might have things that are a little bit offensive for the times it is now, but when it was created, it wasn't a big deal."
Right.
And you had the choice whether or not you wanted to continue watching or turn it off.
Yeah.
Now, is SpongeBob big of a, does it have as big of a legacy as Disney? No, but is SpongeBob fucking huge?
Yeah.
Yes.
It still is. Like,
it still is. They're still milking it for money after Steven Hillenburg, who has since died, he requested, I want this thing to end and I don't want it to continue after my death. And they still have continued it. So, it's huge. And it's different for Disney because Disney, their content is like legacy content that, animators can go back and watch and, learn things from. And it's also just a relic of the time.
Yeah.
The Nazi stuff,
right?
The racist stuff.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that all exists, but, it's still, it's history.
But it does
erase it.
Yeah, exactly. But it does exist. Don't erase it. If anything, use it as a point of conversation. And obviously the Disney stuff is way more, you can learn way more from that. Like, you can be educated way more on that than a fucking panty raid in SpongeBob. But my point is, and see, as a human being, I have conflicting beliefs, as everybody does. Nobody is black and white and cut and dry, right? I am I am a liberal. I am a progressive leaning person always, right? But I also think that virtue signaling and censorship for censorship's sake is bullshit. And I think that you trying to virtue signal or wash away stuff like this is fucking stupid. And I think that regardless of what the content is, not having the creation or whatever it is out there is really stupid. And you're pandering, right? You're pandering. You're doing this woke BS cash grab shit so that people are like, oh, good job. You're protecting our kids from learning about sex and panty raids. Like, no, you're fucking not, dude. You're just removing an avenue for them to learn it, maybe in a fucking funny way, rather than them experiencing it like negatively in real life or something. And I think it's it's stupid.
No, you're right. And it's not like they were, saying panty raids are great. I mean, SpongeBob and Patrick and Mr. Krabs were like excited to do it, obviously, but they got punished for it, right? So they're showing you it's not something good.
Right.
It's not a good thing to do.
Right.
But regardless, it's a joke. It's silly. It's stupid, and it's really not, offensive in my eyes at all.
It's not meant to be taken seriously, literally at all. Nothing in SpongeBob is ever.
Yeah. Well, let me touch on the second episode, the Quarantine Crab. This one I understand a little bit more. It's more recent. It's from season 12 of SpongeBob. So this is one that you and I have most definitely never seen.
Yeah.
So it's called Quarantine Crab, and it features the return of the health inspector. Do you remember the health inspector episode?
Oh.
So the health inspector,
the guy with the hat.
He came to inspect the Krusty Krab, and I'm pretty sure they like knock him out, and they
yes. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
He's like dead.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
So, which is funny right there. It's another example of like them killing this guy. They think he's dead. They try burying him and shit. He was alive the whole time, mind you. So anyway, he's back at the Krusty Krab, and he finds a case of clam flu in the restaurant and quarantines all patrons inside. The characters immediately begin distrusting each other, and anybody assumed to have the virus is shunned and thrown in the freezer.
Wow.
So it's literally like One Night Ultimate Werewolf.
Yeah, and literally representing real current times that we're living in.
Yeah. So this was not featured on the season 12 DVD. They took it out. I assume that came out last year or like late 2019, and it makes sense to remove this one because with everything happening with the coronavirus, so many people have died, and you don't want to be insensitive to that. However, it doesn't need to be like completely removed. Just don't advertise it in my eyes. Like you could put it out, but don't just make a big deal out of it. Or even just wait and hold it and then re-release it later on down the line.
Yeah. I don't agree with removing it. I think you could still use it as a point of education. You could still put a warning up, right? You could be like, hey, look at, donate to all of these people that are trying to help victims of COVID-19 or like families of COVID-19 deaths or whatever it is. Like use it as a point for something good. Don't remove it for removing its sake. Like you're being overly precautious for no reason. And I really no matter what the context is, I really hate companies that do it. Like, because you just remove a point of educating people or just, I don't know. I think all censorship is bad. I think it's bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, this episode could clearly have a notice in the beginning that says, this episode was created before the coronavirus pandemic. We apologize for any similarities, or almost like a South Park thing. Like, the similarities to real people. They did a whole episode.
They did a fucking pandemic special, dude. They did a pandemic special. You didn't see Comedy Central being like, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. You know why? It's called satire. And it's fine.
Damn, that was a really nice angle you just gave us. But I agree. Yeah, I don't get it, man. I don't really understand why they would do this. So when asked, I'm sorry, the episode is pulled from Paramount Plus and Amazon. iTunes, it's still up if you buy the whole season. And DVDs from as late as 2020 feature the Panty Raid episode, but not the Quarantine Crab episode.
All right, well.
So it's interesting. They removed it back in 2018, apparently, but if you buy the DVD that was put out in 2020, it's still there.
Whatever, man. Shit's stupid.
So that was a little bit of SpongeBob news for you guys. Just wanted to bring it up and talk about something a little bit different this week. And, SpongeBob was a huge part of our childhood, and there's so many memes and references that we still quote to this day from SpongeBob. So, yeah. Nice.
Oh, man. All right, Brett. Rounding out the pod, as we always do, with a segment we call Indie Intel. This week, we're talking about a game that I just recently beat, which is also something we don't normally do, is talk about games that we've actually played and beat. And that is Devotion, as I mentioned at the top of the pod. So let me give you my normal flavor text that I would, and then we'll talk about the actual game. Okay.
Okay.
Devotion is a first-person atmospheric horror game depicting the life of a family shadowed by religious belief. Explore a 1980s Taiwan apartment complex lost in time, gradually shift into a hellish nightmare. Delve into the vows each member of the family has made and witness their devotion. So, a little background about this game. Okay, it was released in 2019, Brett, by a studio called Red Candle Games. If you don't know who
I know them.
If you don't know who Red Candle Games are, they are one of my favorite studios in existence. They literally have only made bops, and they are slick. Okay. So on February 21st, Brett, in 2019, a mere 2 days after the game's release, players discovered a Fulu talisman decorating a wall in the game that contained the words Xi Jinping, Winnie the Pooh in Chinese script. Okay. And obviously that is referencing the meme, right? That is pretty old at this point, of Chinese President Xi Jinping. Is he president? Dictator? Might as well be a dictator. I don't fucking know. Whatever his title is. Leader of China. Xi Jinping is as Winnie the Pooh, right? There was a meme with him and Obama, him and Eeyore, like all
Tigger.
Yeah, it's
Obama was Tigger,
yeah.
and yeah,
it's just a meme, right? Xi Jinping as Winnie the Pooh, and he gets upset because he's a stupid idiot leader that can't have his fucking ego bruised a little bit. So anyway, that was in the game, and people lashed out, right? Specifically Chinese people lashed out about it. Now, apparently, it wasn't meant to be kept in the final version of the game. It was more of a placeholder. But, it was there. People got offended by it. And then basically it was removed from Steam. Like, it was removed from all other stores, so you couldn't get it, right? Because of this. And it was basically censored due to it. Now, they did at the time release a statement that they apologized, that it wasn't meant to be there. They didn't intend to upset anybody, X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 blah. I don't know what's true and what's not. I'll take their word for it. But I also am going to create my own narrative that I think they left it there on purpose. I like that they did, because their games specifically are always aimed to speak to power, right? And to visualize, right, and tell stories about the issues with military and government rule. And specifically this game, Brett, if you don't know, is about the 228 incident in Taiwan, or better known as the White Scare, you might have heard of.
I'm not familiar with it.
So basically was an occupation of Taiwan by China. Okay. So,
it fits kind of in there, yeah.
Exactly. So that's basically what this game is about. And, you experience these different years of this family through who was the husband and the dad, basically being radicalized by this religious group to, pray to this God to hopefully save his daughter, right? Who really didn't need saving. She had a condition that they thought then was a mental condition, and then he gets brainwashed, and, things happen that I won't spoil for the game. But the backdrop of it is this White Scare, right? This Chinese rule and this religious push, right, to pray to this God, okay? And interestingly enough, after that White Scare in China, or in Taiwan, due to the Chinese occupation, they had super lax religious rules, right? Where, like, basically religious groups or cults could operate by themselves, okay? Which is why people became radicalized, right? And that's what this game talks to. And, there's stuff in the game about almost like indulgences. You know what the indulgences are? Where you pay for saving your soul or whatever. So that's kind of what this game delves into. So whether or not they actually meant to leave that in there or not, who knows, and I don't care. I hope they did mean to leave it in there. But anyway, a little more backstory. On December 16th, 2020, Red Candle Games and GOG announced that the game would be available on GOG's store. Okay. However, a few hours after making that announcement, GOG issued a statement that basically said, after receiving many messages from gamers, that they decided to remove that. We've talked about this before on the channel. Okay. Yeah. We have a video about this. So we'll put a card in here, link it at the end. Check it out if you haven't. But basically, I no longer use GOG. I barely did at the time, and now I never will again. I think they're fucking disgusting human beings run by idiots that, were basically pressured by the Chinese government to remove this incredible game from the store. I don't like censorship. as we talk a lot about. I think it's bad, and any form of it is bad. And if you take part in it, I don't support you. Okay. So anyway, that happened, and then Brett, March 2021, the month that we're currently in. Maybe still when this video comes out, maybe not. We might have switched to April, but March 2021, Red Candle opened up their own store for their game where you can buy it DRM free directly from them. You can buy the game for $16 right now. I think 20 some bucks for the game and the soundtrack. You can buy a bundle of Devotion and Detention, which was their first game. So you can get it now, which is why I wanted to bring this up for Indie Intel, because this game has been inaccessible for so long, and it was so sad to me to see such a small indie studio, right? 6 people made their first game, Detention. 6 people. Now they're a little bit bigger now, but basically,
well, the game went on. Detention went on to become a hit movie and also a series.
Exactly. And Devotion, when it came out, blew up on Twitch. It was the #1 game on Twitch, right? It had overwhelmingly positive views, millions of copies sold. And then it got removed, right? And you saw those reviews go negative because of this, and you haven't been able to basically access the game for almost 2 years now. And now it's finally available, and I felt like it was a good time to talk about it because I just beat it, right? And also because it hasn't been available for so long, and I feel like people talked about it and all the controversy around it, and then it went away, and now it's finally available, and I feel like nobody's talking about it. I'll give you my brief review of the game, and then we can move on. I know the segment's usually short, but I also want to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah.
This game is incredible. I give it 5 stars on GG app. Follow me on GG if you don't. Links in the description.
Nice plug.
This game is perfect. Where Detention, which was the first game, was perfect, this game is even better. First of all, it's scary as hell. The first person aspect is great, and it almost works like PT, where you're in a loop of different. There's multiple areas, but you're in like this loop, and things change based off of stuff that you do, right? And you kind of experience 3 different timelines. You experience the year 1980, 1985, and 1986 through the lens of what this family is going through, right? And as you interact and solve puzzles and stuff in the game, you uncover more about the family, more about the dad's religious devotion, more about the atrocities that were being committed by the Chinese government against the Taiwanese people. And you start to take the role of not just the father, but you experience, what the daughter went through. And there's so many creative gameplay, the gameplay segments in this game. I couldn't believe it, right? It's not just a normal first-person horror game, right, where there's jump scares and you're moving through stuff and solving small puzzles, right? It's not just a walking sim. There is incredibly creative gameplay moments in this game. There's a story. You play a storybook at one point where it's it becomes like a 2D platformer, like puzzle-solving game. It is just incredible. And as with both of their games now that I've played, you have this political backdrop, right? That kind of gives context to the thing. And then you have the horror of everyday life, either as a student or as a family, right? You have a domestic type of horror game. And the stuff that this game shows you is gut-wrenching, and it is, the horror of the game is almost more so from the interactions of the human beings and the character you play as, rather than any of the other political or context in the game. I can't talk about it more positively enough. Don't watch a Let's Play of the game. Don't do it. Play it. I beat it in 2 hours and 15 minutes, a little under 3 hours. Just play it. Just play the fucking game, because it is incredible and one of the best horror games I've ever played in my entire life.
Wow. What a glowing review.
That's it. But
I have it. I have to jump into it.
Yeah. But what are your thoughts about just everything before we wrap up Indie Intel for this week?
Yeah, I think everything you said is accurate. I feel like these developers are if you know music, Rage Against the Machine are this huge political band. Mm-hmm. I feel like this is that's what Red Candle Games is for games, right?
Right.
You might not be familiar with the causes they're fighting for as an American.
Yeah.
However, like you, Josh, you kind of get wrapped up into it, and you start to get every side of it and every angle of it, and it's cool that you finally got the chance to play this. My opinion still stands about GOG. We talked about that in our previous video. So if you haven't seen that, check it out. My opinion still stands. And yeah, I mean, I'm glad that it's finally out. I'm glad that they finally released it on their own. They can make all the money off of it now.
Yeah.
You know? And when they first announced that it was out, they called it an eShop, and I thought they meant the Nintendo eShop at first. And I was like, holy shit. And I like checked my Switch, and it wasn't on there. And I was like, oh, they released it on like their own eShop.
Right.
So very happy that it's finally out. I have it. You, like you just said, you beat
Yeah.
it. So I'm excited to play it.
Yeah. Absolutely incredible studio. Please check out their games. They are fucking phenomenal. And I do want to just add one last thing. If you are living in the United States currently and are a U.S. citizen, this game, Devotion, there's a lot of parallels that could be made to the regime that was just retired in this country. And that's what I will leave it at. Devotion, check it out, folks. Links in the description to purchase it and support the game.
Nice.
Okay. That's
All
it,
right,
Brett.
Josh.
It's another week, another pod.
That's right. So I think the most important thing to note here is if you haven't already started watching our Resident Evil 4 live stream series, it's a live Let's Play. We're playing through the whole entire game in cosplay as Leon and the Merchant of Resident Evil 4.
That's right.
If you've made it this far into the podcast, that means you're a fan and you support us. So we love you and we support you and we want to do what you like. So make sure you let us know what kind of content you want to see down below in the comment section.
Yeah. Well, yes, thank you, everybody. Make sure you like, you comment, like Brett said, you subscribe, you share it with people, you follow all of our socials. All of those links are in the descriptions. We love you. We appreciate you. We'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Hapticast. Please like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you do not miss an upload.